Hello, everyone. This is Carmen with Coffee with Carmen. I'm here with Shauna and Jenna. And today's topic we were going to discuss about forgiveness. I know that in our lifetime, I think every single person has to forgive someone at some point. It's just the way it is. It's the way God intended us to be. It's the way we move forward. And I think it's important to actually talk about this because I think we all been at a place where we struggle with forgiveness, and when we struggle with forgiveness, it sets us back, and God is not wanting us to be set back. He's wanting us to move forward in every situation in our lives, because it's not just about us. Our children are watching us, and they have to see that we're willing to forgive, no matter what it is, because in order for them to move forward, they need to learn to forgive. And so that's why we're here, because it is a topic that needs to be discussed, because we all have to be able to have a forgiving heart. And so I know that, Jenna, we've all gone through things and where we've had to forgive. And sometimes it always seems like it has to be someone that we love the most.
Yeah.
That has caused us to feel like we just, our hearts hurt more, I think, when it's someone that we love deeply. And but we have to be willing to do it. We have to be willing to give it to God. We have to be willing to just say, God, I don't know how to forgive. I'm not sure how to do this, but I know that you're with me, and I know that you are going to help me along the way to learn to forgive this person. And so that's our topic today, and I just think it's important to talk about it. So I know Jenna always thought you'd go first. Let me go first.
Okay.
So Jenna's gonna go first.
I think, so I was thinking about what you just said, about it always being like it's someone that you love, right? And that's what makes it so hard, is because you put your trust in them.
Right.
And you don't expect to ever have that happen to where they hurt you or they do something to you that betrays that.
Yeah. Right.
And that's, I think, what makes forgiveness hard. And I mentioned this, I know, right before we started this, but I always, for me to kind of comprehend forgiveness, like it's a daily process for me, but I always think of like Jesus, and when Jesus went to the cross, and I always am reminded, and this didn't, like, I've heard this in multiple ways, about Jesus wouldn't have gone to the cross without Judas, right? Like Judas betraying him. So then I start thinking kind of about that, and how, like, even our enemies God uses. Like, even the people that hurt us, God uses those people and turns it into something that's like beautiful and amazing. And but we have to allow it. Like, we can't turn and make the choice of allowing it to make us bitter. Right. We have to forgive. And so that's why we're talking about this, I think, because it's so important. Otherwise it could easily become this like bitter thing inside of you that prevents God from working, prevents God from using you. So I'm always just kind of thinking about that, and it's like a daily thing for me. It's not like I forgive and then it's one and done and that's it. Like, it's like every day I have to make the decision to put it behind me. Right. And so that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do believe that we do have to put it behind us. I think that it is an everyday decision to do that, and to hand it, and just let it go. Every day we have to tell ourselves, I'm going to let it go. Because things do come up where you're like, and I know we talked about this last week, about when things come up and all of a sudden it's there, and God's having you search yourself. Like, why are you there again? And sometimes it's because there is something there that's holding, you're still haven't forgiven completely. You're still questioning certain things that have happened, and but God is saying, no, you can't be there. You can't. If you've forgiven all the way. You have to let it go. It brings me back to Genesis and 45 where chapter 45 where it talks about Joseph and how, Joseph was highly favored. We all know that through his father and how much he loved him, but yet his brothers didn't know how to handle that. They just didn't feel it was fair. And sometimes that happens to us. Like, why does this have to happen to me? Like, you know, um, but yet Joseph moved, God had a plan, and God always has a plan, even though we don't see it. And a lot of that has to do, like Joseph, like he knew that the situation wasn't good. What did they do? They sold him. His brothers sold him, and your family's supposed to love you the most. But his brothers were like, oh, let's just give him away. And for Joseph to know that what they had done to him, he had to really search himself and know that along the way, God kept talking to him and showing him certain things. And there came a time when his brother, there was a famine, and his brothers had to come, but they didn't know it was their brother, that it was Joseph.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Joseph knew who they were. But Joseph, through it all, through every process, through every step, had to find it within himself to forgive his brothers.
Yep.
And to realize that God had set up a time, that perfect time, for him to be able to have just put aside every single emotion he had and just give it, just to completely forgive, to be able to have helped his family, helped his brothers, but with a pure heart.
Yeah.
Not just because it's the right thing to do. A lot of times we do that. We do something because it's the right thing to do. But yet God is saying, well, are you doing it because it's the right thing to do, or are you doing it because you have forgiven? And I know that was the process with Joseph, I'm pretty sure, like me being in Joseph's shoes, that's not easy. We've all walked Joseph's shoes where we felt betrayed.
Yeah.
We felt like there was, this situation happened, and why did it happen, and feel betrayed. And it's always those that we love most that make, like, just hurt us the most.
I think the closer the relationships are, and the deeper the connection with that person, it doesn't have to be romantic either. It could be a family member, a sister, a friend. It is that potential for a deeper wound or a bigger hurt because of that close proximity.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. And so we always have to remember, like, God's always trying to show us.
Yeah.
Who are you? Like, are you proclaiming that you know me? You're proclaiming that you walk with me. You're always sharing my word, but yet, where is your heart? Have you completely forgiven?
Yeah.
Because we have to completely forgive to move forward.
Yeah.
When you completely forgive, that takes the strongholds from not just you, but your family. Like, look what happened. God used Joseph, and because Joseph forgave, they were able to live in the land where everything was good. Like, they went from the famine, everyone was struggling. Then there's Joseph. God's working through Joseph, because I know it wasn't easy. When you weep, like he did, like, reading the word, and he wept the way he did, that he was still hurting inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he was, and we have those moments where we're hurting inside.
Yeah.
But God is saying, in order for Joseph to have helped his family, he had to weep, and we weep.
Yeah.
We have to. And it's part of moving forward. It's part of giving it to God. It's just part of our children seeing that we are letting go and trusting God and forgiving completely. And that not just releases the strongholds that we have, but it releases theirs as well, because it allows them to forgive.
Yeah.
I think what you said there, like Joseph had those emotions, right? In his flesh, it would have been easy to say, like, no, like, you guys don't deserve that. After all that you did to me, you don't deserve that.
Yeah.
But that's not what Jesus did for us, right? We were still sinners when he went to the cross and died for us.
Yeah.
And so we, as followers of him, are supposed to emulate that. And so that means, like, even if someone is still living in that sin or still living in a way that they haven't come to you and apologized,
Right.
they haven't come to you and
Yeah.
said, I'm sorry for all that I've done to you,
Right.
you may never get that.
Yeah.
It's like you have to learn and choose and make a decision to put aside that fleshly desire to be like, no, you don't deserve it.
Right.
To be like, okay, God gave me grace, and just because I'm extending grace to you, it doesn't mean, like they always say, it doesn't mean that they didn't do what they did to you. It still means, it still validates what they did, but at the same time, like, you can't move forward until you let go of that. I looked up, before this, I was thinking about it, and I looked up Romans 12, and it talks about repaying evil for evil, and it talks about, like, vengeance is the Lord's. Like,
Yeah.
that's not our place to repay that. Like,
Yeah.
that will come, whether it comes here on this earth or it comes at eternity. Like, that's not my place to say whether you deserve that or not. Like, it's,
Yeah.
God just wants you to let go. Like,
Right.
just let go, make a decision to give it to God, make a decision on a daily basis to be like, God, here it is. Like, I have these, right? We get emotional and we
Right.
have these strong emotions about it.
Yeah.
And that's our human side. So we
Mhm.
have to, like, access, like, what's my spiritual side in this, saying, like, God, help me with this, because it doesn't come naturally.
Yeah.
Right.
I've learned over time and other people helping me and allowing them to come alongside me when I've been walking through really difficult situations, that forgiveness doesn't mean that if we choose to forgive, it doesn't mean that what they did was right or okay. That forgiveness, what I've learned, is it almost never has anything to do with the actual person. It has everything to do with us.
Right.
And the word actually shows us that forgiveness is a commandment. I'm like 90% sure it's Matthew 11, 25 and 26. It talks about how we forgive so that we can be forgiven. It's
true.
And it doesn't, and even if we walk through forgiveness and we choose to forgive someone, it still doesn't give them a right to a relationship with us.
Yeah.
And that was empowering to me, because I got caught in this mindset of, well, if I forgive them, like, I don't want to do that because I don't want to cut the boundary line between us, or I don't want them thinking it's okay to get closer again. But God's been having to renew my mindset about it and why I need to forgive, because it's me letting go of that pain in the offense and saying, God, it is for you to handle. I'm not the Holy Spirit. I'm not the one that's supposed to be convicting them or attempting to convict them, because I've done that before, trying to show them what they did or wanting them to learn a lesson. Like you said, vengeance or revenge is the Lord's. He will deal with his child, whoever it may be, however he wants to and however he needs to. But for me, I thought of, when, as you girls were talking, I thought of the example of, have you ever heard someone share the story? I think they have at church before too, about the monkey and the banana, how they've done tests where monkeys love bananas. They just love bananas. We see it in storybooks, but apparently in real life, they really love bananas. And how they will hold a banana outside of a cage, and the monkey will reach for it and grab it and, like, will not let go of it. And they can even go and open the door to the cage where the monkey could just freely walk out, but they will not let go of that banana. And I was thinking about it as you guys were sharing about forgiveness, and I'm like, that's what it is for us. If we don't let go of, and our focus is just like tunnel vision on the offense, the pain, the hurt, the wound, what wasn't fair, like all these negative things in our emotion, we're literally holding on to something that is binding us, and we are choosing not to walk forward in freedom. Our freedom and our healing comes when we choose to forgive, because we say, okay, that's not my place. I'm not God. I'm not going to take God's spot. I'm going to let go, and I'm going to focus on what God is wanting to do in me through this situation and what he's trying to show me. Because in most every situation, even if there wasn't an offense or a wound or a hurt, there is still a level of responsibility that we need to take in our own lives and how we were in that situation, and who knows what that would be. But glowing in the word and thinking about our thoughts and shaking it off, ultimately, like, everything has our vision, our focus, our investment of our time, even with our own thoughts and what we're thinking constantly, it can't be the pain and the offense and the negative, because that's where the enemy wants to keep us trapped. It has to be back to the word and it has to be back to God and all the good things that He is.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I was just thinking about.
Yeah, and I agree with you. That's the one thing that God always has reminded me of. Like, I always have to look at myself. I always have to look at what's going on within me. What can I learn from it? What is it that He's trying to show me? Even when I think about things that have happened, or if I'm in a situation that I'm not, like, I'm not just feeling like this is right. God's always trying to show us, like, what is it about? There's always something He's trying to show us about ourselves. And like you said, like, in order for us to do that, we have to let go. Like the monkey, he would have seen that the gate was open if he would let go of the banana.
And Joseph, he wouldn't have been the leader that he was, giving his time, his focus, and doing all the things that he was doing for the land. Right? If he was so focused on getting back at his brothers, or stuck in that spot where he couldn't let go of the offense, he wouldn't have done what God had called him to do, and neither will we. If we hold on to stuff.
I think what you talked about, the stronghold, right? Like, if we allow it, it becomes a stronghold. Which, do you think Satan wants to kill and destroy?
Yes.
So everything that we do, he is attempting to do that. And so unforgiveness is that foothold for him to gain ground in your life and be like, nope, like, we're keeping you back here because of unforgiveness. And God's like, no, let it go. Give it to me. And I like gym analogies because I work out a lot. I always think of, like, when you're gripping something so hard, right? Like, you're holding on so tightly to it. It's like the banana story. Like, eventually your muscles are going to fatigue. You can't do it.
That's
like,
good.
you just have to
will tire yourself out.
Yeah, you will tire yourself out. You just have to open up, let go, give it to God. Even just, like, surrender it to God, like, on a daily basis. Like, at His feet. Be like, God, I can't, me on my own human strength can't do this. I need God to come in and be like, take it from me, because I can't do this. Like, sometimes it's just too much. And so, but thinking of it as like a stronghold, I'm like, no, like, I'm not going to allow that in my life. Like, no, there's no room for that.
And I think the part, when we shared about reading scripture and spending that quality time with God, He helps us with all of that. He helps us work things through and really see what He's trying to tell us. Because God has a way of just, as you're reading, He just has a way of, like, speaking louder than anything else. So we have to learn to listen as we're spending that time with Him, because He's always showing us something. And when we're reading, or just when we're, like, maybe listening to the radio, like some of us listen, I like to listen to Caleb, and they're, the words that all these songs mean something, and those songs come from the scriptures, comes from what's happened in their lives. So and a lot of times God is speaking to us and showing us to let go, just to let it go, and to allow Him to work through us. And as He does that, many great things happen. And willing to just let it go, and as you let it go, He shows you exactly what you need to learn from it. So but I'm just I'm just sitting here and knowing where I was years ago. I know that, I did get a little emotional, but we do that when we think about certain things. We do get emotional. Why? Because it was something that was there, but then you're like at a place now where you're like, I'm grateful for God. I'm grateful for what He did. I'm grateful for, He took that. He took that from me. And because He did, I can see the joy in the eyes of my own children. I can see where they're like, aren't holding on to certain things, because they did see the joy of God that lives and dwells in our home, in my home. And that's part of letting go. It's part of forgiving. Because how can they see that if you're holding on to it? They just see you angry all the time. They see you talking bad, and then you might get your Bible, but at the same time, what's coming out of your mouth? What are you demonstrating? Are you saying, I've completely forgiven, or are you just saying, I wish this and this would happen to this person?
Doing in the
so that's it. And God holds us accountable.
He does.
He does. And so I am grateful for His word. I'm grateful for who He is, and just for allowing even though I do get emotional, I know I'm not there anymore. And I believe that's why I get emotional, because I know what God's done, because I have forgiven.
Well, you know how far you've come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll, sometimes you want to do that hallelujah. Oh, I do.
Are you going to show us right now?
Where's the sponge? We forgot the
We're
sponge
losing light,
today.
but we can get a dance in.
Yeah. Should I?
Don't worry, I won't leave you hanging and do it with you.
Yeah. So, but no, I grew up watching those dances.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and it was just I remember when we first started attending a church where they really did show us who God was, and I remember sitting there thinking, like, what are they doing? But it wasn't like it was a lot. It was just, it's unfamiliar. It was unfamiliar, but God showed us, or showed me. That's part of the forgiveness part, learning how to shake it off, learning how to walk through it, dance through it, being soaked in the sponge, and just God's word, and just allowing Him to just speak and help us through those journeys of forgiveness.
And He will.
And He will, So. Is there anything else you guys wanted to say?
I think we're running out of light. So.
Yeah, we're running out of light. So
Thanks for hanging with us.
A little dark.
Thank you for joining us today, and just allowing us to share about forgiveness, and allow God to just speak to you through this, and allow God to help you, and to search, and search within yourself, and and God will show you where you're still holding on to some things that cause you to feel angry and bitter about it, because God doesn't want it there. Believe me, I know. So just want to say thank you for joining us. Thank you for just being a part of this journey that we're saying yes to God to. And I just want to say, like I always say, is that there's always hope in Jesus, and